All right, we are live. Hey guys,
What's
gals.
up, everybody? Excited to have you guys back. We are doing our weekly agency SEO jam, and this is, I think, for those of you guys who are either running SEO agencies, want to white label it, want to offer it to your clients. Our goal is to make this super helpful, super useful for you guys to be able to go out in the trenches, do this in the real world. And we're talking about some things, obviously Google's a changing landscape, but we want to also share some things with you that don't change, that, things that you can take to the bank, depend on week after week, and not always be shocked when Google update day comes along. Feels a little bit like Groundhog Day when those days come along. You're like, oh no, Google did an update today. We are joined, obviously, those of you guys who are not familiar with Lane Houk. He is the founder of Signal Genesis. He is Mr. Quantum Agency himself. My name is Frankie Fihn. I wrote a book about growing an agency. I've also built a very big white label SEO agency back in the day. I'm an old fart, but that's not something we currently offer to people. Anyways, Lane, thanks for coming on here and doing this. Let's talk GBPs, Google Business Places, my man.
Yeah. So, that's an ever moving target, right? I mean, you were just telling me that you were seeing a bunch of questions in one of the Facebook groups about, almost every question was, having to do with the GBP profile, the GBP listing, GMB listing.
And can I just share a little bit of that? There was some like, how often should I post? Where should I get my citations built? What's a good way to optimize it? Am I keyword stuffing? This guy has no website and no reviews, and he's outranking me. Why the hell is that the case?
Yeah. All right, so I'll just share my screen here real quick. I don't usually do this in these StreamYards, but I will share it here. And so I'm at the Marketing Center of Excellence GBP listing just to show you guys so you can see here. So we'll go through some of the just quick basics. There might be basic questions out there. Maybe some of you are like, I got the basics. That box is checked. Fine. I'll jam through this really quick here in terms of the basic things that you got to check that box. Like if you don't have the green circle here, you're not there yet. Like, okay, so Google's giving you a visual representation of whether your profile is complete or not. And so if you don't have the green circle there, it still has a red, it's not complete, and you need to keep going. And so where do you keep going? Well, obviously in the about section, you got to have all that information in there, right? Service areas, anything that's special there. And then contact information. I actually got to add our social profiles. You can see that that's not actually needed to get to 100% complete profile completeness, but that is something that I need to do. It's just I haven't done it for this listing yet, but I highly recommend that you do that. All you got to do is just come in, edit that, pick, hey, this is our Facebook, and then you can go out to Facebook, grab your profile, pick Twitter, whatever, just keep adding those and then hit save. Okay, so make sure and do that. And then, obviously all of this stuff, just make sure it's as complete as you possibly can get it, right? That's the very first step. So that profile there is where you kind of just get that first level of basic information, get that complete. And then we want to go in, we want to add products and services. So any products or services that the business actually offers, get in there and add them. You can certainly, Google will give you certain auto suggestions on services, and then you can add those, and then you can also add your own custom ones as well, and same thing with products. Photos is a really important piece. You got to have at least a logo and a cover image. At least add those two. You can certainly add more photos inside your office, outside the office, workplace photos. If it's a contractor type, before and after, all that stuff is really great to add to the GBP listing as a photo. These big tiles down here are important. They're not going to affect necessarily your profile strength, but these big tiles down here, when you're a manager or an owner of a profile listing, you'll see these tiles here. These you should call extra attention to. Okay, why? Because Google's giving you extra attention to it. So add the social profiles, set up your booking link if you have one, add exterior photos, add if you have amenities at your actual location, You can add an amenity map. You can add address autocomplete. You can also just add a direct map to your website. You can add directions to your website. And so these tiles are really important to use as many of them as possible, because these are where Google is going to actually, these are kind of like where I would say these are going to be ranking signals, not necessarily all of them, but a lot of them are going to actually be some level of a ranking signal.
Yeah. Plus, can I just say, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a more complete profile than your competitors.
Absolutely, for sure. Obviously, getting reviews is going to be an important piece of getting to at least 11 reviews. So any GBP listing that has less than 10 reviews, you need to get to at least 10 first, and then, or 11. And that's kind of like the first big milestone. So work on getting to 10 to 11 reviews ASAP. And that kind of, that will round out at least the initial. All right, I've got my listing verified. I've got it all complete. I've added my photos. I've added my products and services. I've, added a couple of updates, which would be like your GBP post. So an update is called a post. You can either add a post update, an offer update, or an event update. The update that gets like the most juice, which is the offer update, I would add one a week if you can. There's no sense in posting to your GBP listing more than once a day. And in fact, I probably would say no more than about 3 times a week is probably optimal. But 3 to 5 times for a post, think of it like a social post. I wouldn't expect that adding a post every day is not going to be like the holy grail of ranking your GBP listing. Far from it, actually. So just put a modicum of focus on frequent updates, meaning 3 to 5 times a week, no more. And don't expect that that's going to be that's going to be everything you need to do once you have a complete listing. It's just add some GBP posts or updates and think, I'm good to go, right? So once you have the listing complete, once you've exhausted your use of these bigger tiles down here as applicable, because not all of them are going to be applicable, but as much as you can use these and get that done, now you can say, all right, I've checked the big box of getting the GBP listing verified, set up, completed, and really kind of optimized from an initial standpoint. Now we're going to switch to basically off GBP signaling, okay? So we're going to start to generate and send signals to the GBP listing using other methods to send signals to the Google listing to build its authority. Those would be kind of phase 2. Maybe you can call those advanced SEO, local SEO. And so there's a kind of combination of things you can do here. One, it's got to be in your content. So your content on your website and content amplification once you have it that on your website. So what I would do is definitely look at building out your local location pages and service pages. And inside those pages, you have to have unique content. It cannot be duplicate content. And you want to send location-based or proximity-based signals within that content, meaning usage of zip codes, city names, points of interest, and neighborhoods, weather, anything that's location-based that you can insert into the content on the location page and or service pages that are going to be proximity or location-based signals. Obviously, on every one of those location or service-based pages, you want to have an embed of your Google listing using this tile right here, add a map to your website. This leverages the Google Cloud Console, Google Maps API. And so you want to use this particular map. You do not want to use the share map.
So can I ask you on that, Lane, are you guys essentially using your own website as an additional citation?
Essentially, yes. But when you say that, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, obviously, everybody talks name, address, phone number, and, making that information consistent. But obviously, you can use your own website to create additional citations.
That's a must. You got to have that on your contact page that have your address and your footer. So it actually is occurring on every page. On all the location pages, you want to have this map embed. That is a special function here of the GBP listing. Okay, so do not go and use this old share link and then embed a map. Okay. This is not the same embed code as what you will build and ultimately render using the Google Cloud Console option, which comes off of this tile on your GBP listing. So that's an important distinction with what map to use on all your location pages, service pages, or even in the footer of your site. Use this to build that map because this does a direct Google Maps API call every time that page loads with that map. Okay. Don't use this old embed code that you get off the share button on the GBP listing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece to do. So I was getting back to off-page signaling for the GBP listing. So step one would be location service pages on the website having highly unique, relevant content that is helpful to the user, not just these old-based locations pages, service pages that have duplicate content. That won't fly anymore. So don't avoid that. It's got to be really good. You got to have a little strategy there in terms of how you're going to build those location or service pages with unique content that the algorithm is going to look at as being helpful to the user around that location. That's where you can really, I don't want to say stuff, but inject proximity signals. Like I said, zip codes, city names, points of interest, and neighborhoods all around that specific city area. Second thing I would do would be using Signal Genesis and PRs, because our system is specifically targeting the Google Maps API and other Google APIs to generate location-based and map or GBP-based signals. So there's definitely a correlation between frequent, regular use of Signal Genesis and putting proximity-based signals within the press releases, and then using Signal Genesis for the distribution and amplification process, and coupled with the use of our media room. That will absolutely do off-page or off-GBP signaling that will help drive authority and better rankings for the GBP listing. And then
can I just say that before you finish that in general, Google has always loved news sites, ABC, NBC, Fox and CNN and all the little local affiliates. They just, have over time maintained their authority status. You think through all the Google updates I've seen in 20 years, they've never really punished these kind of news sites. So this is some pretty long lasting stuff in general.
Yeah. And that, one of the things that we did that's different from the regular wire digital PR industry in Signal Genesis is that the content stays live for anywhere from 3 to 6 months minimum, depending on what plan you're in, to into perpetuity, like forever. And so the content's not getting pushed out and then cycled out and archived within 30 days, which is typical for the wire industry. We're paying extra for that content to stay live on certain sites, and then on certain sites we have an agreement that it'll stay up there for at least a year or potentially just forever. So that longevity of the content being on those news sites longer than just 30 days does play another role. It's not the entire pie, but it's a piece of the pie in terms of why our platform is achieving better results and actual quantifiable local and organic SEO results versus usage of all the other different types of wire industries. And I think we talked about in either last week or the week before about the dirty little secret of the PR industry and the wire industry. Why those other services just don't work.
For those of you guys who didn't see it, the short version is that a lot of the PR, pretty much all of them, they're driving their link juice to themselves by posting it first on their site, and therefore they're seen as the original source of it, as where Signal Genesis is designed for SEO companies and to actually be able to use to drive rankings, and it uses yours as the original source of the content, therefore amplifying your site instead of PR Newswire, for example, or somebody else like that, which is for a lot of you guys who are doing press releases to create authority, well, you're probably actually just building PR Newswire's authority or some other equivalent.
That's exactly it. Yep. Yeah, our media room integration code, it's a small piece of JavaScript code. It's kind of it looks very simple. It is very simple, but what it does is highly sophisticated and cutting edge. And it literally, like Frankie said, it turns, the client's direct target site that's you're doing the press release for to drive SEO results for, it turns their website into its own newsroom. And then all of the juice and all the amplification of that press release content, once it gets published on the live news and radio media sites, all that authority and juice comes back to the root domain, the client's domain where the newsroom exists. So yeah, that's another method for driving, amplification and signal generation to that GBP listing. We have direct Google API integrations for that direct purpose. And then the third thing I would say, kind of advanced signaling around a GBP listing is real-time human engagement, CTR, any kind of engagement that you can actually generate around the GBP posts, the reviews, any social posts, any blog articles, any press releases, like any of the content that exists out there around that entity, creating engagement on around that content. Obviously, there's target pages you can create, real-time engagement, CTR clicks on the location pages, service pages. You could do GBP ecosystem searches and click on the GBP target listing for CTR. But all of that those are engagement signals. Those are behavioral or engagement signals, and they are one of the main drivers of actual rankings today. Way more than citations, way more than even a couple of reviews, way more than GBP posting. Like the engagement signals, the clicks, the shares, the dwell time, those things are invaluable and are major ranking signals. And so you've got to. I see too many agencies focusing on citations still. Like, what listing should I be in? And folks, my citations play about 7% of the overall influence. Like it's a little bit. So don't put all your focus. Put very little focus there. Like check a little box there and move along, because the engagement signals, the content marketing strategy that you have, posting content to the client's website, posting content to the client's target listing, and then how you amplify and syndicate and distribute that content to create more engagement and more traffic. That's the real key to driving GBP rankings.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say on that, Google has had Chrome now for I don't know how many years, like let's call it somewhere like 7 to 10 years, I'm guessing. And so, they can see all the statistics of how long people stay on sites, and they make more money when people use their system. And so, like we kind of touched on this last time, but there's a trend of just let's have ChatGPT do everything. And obviously ChatGPT is a very, very useful tool, but straight out of the box, one-line prompts, like they're probably not going to make super engaging, super interesting stuff that is going to keep people on your site for a long time. As where you're kind of hinting at there is like as a tool to highlight things locally that are interesting and highlight certain zip codes and show people certain points of interest, things that are relevant to them are far more likely to actually create the end result, because at the end of the day, people are going to stay on the damn website or stay on the damn, Google Business Place listing and actually engage with it, which is just money in Google's pocket. Like they have their own self-interest, but once you kind of understand that, like play the game for real and not, because I've seen this, and I'm sure you've seen lots of it too. For 20 years, I've seen SEO as this cat and mouse game where SEOs figure out some exploit to temporarily get rankings. And then 6 months later, Google figures that out and closes the door, and there's some kind of update and it gets shut off. For like in the early days, I remember it was like you could build profile backlinks on forums, and there was a black hat software called Xroomer that could build like 1,000 of them like every couple of minutes, right? So like I could build like 100,000 profile backlinks that would all point to my website. But then Google figured out like, yeah, that's just a bot doing that. And then, devalued those. And then all of a sudden there was a new tool that came out and it was like, oh, we can get a blog comment. There was Scrapebox, and people are always trying to exploit it. But what you're talking about is more timeless. It's like actually like build a site in a machine that people actually want to stay on, and you'll probably win the SEO game long term.
It really does come back down to content. Like you've got to have a really good content marketing strategy. Now, that being said, obviously in the game of SEO, some of this we're in the game of manipulating the algorithm to create lift in the rankings so that then real organic traffic can kick in and take over.
Yeah.
And so you now start getting actual real human engagement traffic and real human engagement signals, because you're ranking on page one, so people are actually clicking there. But to get to page one, we have to do, acceleration, manipulation, whatever it might be. Obviously, there's a green hat component of that, which is your content marketing strategy, which is content's always been a biggest part of the game in building online authority and building rankings that last. You can obviously do black hat stuff, the things that manipulate the algorithm. A lot of that will get found out and get neutralized or penalized depending on how Google reacts to that. I can tell you that if you do CTR manipulation and you do it wrong, you will get penalized. Like you will be put into the black hole sandbox. Your GBP listing will disappear. It'll be gone. Like, so you have to be really careful if you're going to start doing some more of the black hat stuff or more of the manipulation stuff. There's a whole system called Nav Boost, okay, that was revealed through the Google antitrust lawsuit that when the DOJ sued Google in an antitrust lawsuit. Out of the testimony of one of the Google execs came the full system called Nav Boost. Well, Nav Boost is what I was just kind of referring to in terms of all the different clicks and engagement. And so we know that inside the algorithm is looking for clicks and engagement, dwell time, and actual user clicks. And it's measuring user clicks to develop a relevancy score for that asset that's getting clicked. And so there's an entire system within the algorithm that's just looking at this engagement, these behavioral click signals. And so it's a big part of driving rankings. Okay. And so you want to solve for this either by having real-time engagement, like tell the business owner. I have to actually counsel business owners, because this is a real part of the Nav Boost system, is when people take their phone and they go to the Google Maps app on their phone, and then they type in something like, primary physician near me, or, tire store near me. And then they click on a local business inside the search results. And then they click on, okay, that's where I want to go. And they hit take directions, right? And then they hit start. Okay. Then they actually drive in their car all the way from wherever they are directly to that location. Okay. That signal is about the most powerful signal that can ever be generated around a GBP listing. Okay. It's almost unfakeable. It can't be faked, but it's virtually unfakeable. There are systems that you can do to actually fake that and create those signals, but I would recommend that you stay out of that, because if you don't do it right, you'll end up with a black hole.
Plus, it's harder to fake it than just do it for real.
So counsel your clients to have friends, family, and other clients, customers, actually do that, or employees. Like if you have people and you actually come to your office every day and you want to drive rankings for that listing, you can't do this for every listing. Obviously, an SAB, you can't do this for an SAB because the address is hidden, so there's no directions.
Yeah.
But for
we're coming up on time here, so I got a jet.
No worries. We'll leave you with this: is that signal around driving directions and then hitting start and having people using their phone drive to a GBP listing location. That's a very powerful signal. You don't need hundreds of those. You need a couple of those, a month, maybe a dozen at most, and boom, you'll see that Nav Boost system reward your GBP listing for those types of signals. So anyway, hope you guys learned something today.
We're gonna jam more on this because I see a lot of the questions, and we appreciate you guys watching this.
Yeah. Hey, Frankie, have a good day, buddy.
Take care, brother. Can I just ask you to update the sharing settings on this, so when we share it in the group,
I gotta go set it to public. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
See you guys. Have a great day.